Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. Thank you for joining me for this, the second in this series where I feature artists, people who watch the channel, and I feature their music, and I have a couple of guests on the show and we talk about that music and some of the struggles people may have had in production, and just we chat in general about all things to do with recording music. I do have a couple of guests on the show tonight, which I'll get to in a moment, but I just want to mention the sponsor here, which is DistroKid. Am I pointing in the right place? If you follow that link up there and you want to release your music to all of the places you want to release your music, you will get a 7% discount off of the $19.99. So we'll be here and there talking about DistroKid in the most natural possible way that I can do that in terms of segues. Also, I want to thank the people who have submitted. There's been many of you since I announced this a few weeks ago have submitted your songs. I am listening to every single song, and I am playing 5 per show. Now, if you have not been chosen yet, that doesn't mean you won't be chosen. It may take me several weeks before I get to some of them. And you are still welcome to enter your songs to have them played on the show and featured on my website when I get that bit built, which I haven't quite got to yet. Follow the link in the description down below if you would like to submit your music. And what else have I got to say before we get into it? The other thing I want to say is that the links for the songs that you're going to be listening through this show will be added to the description just after the live show today. Whew, that's all of that done. I'm going to move straight on to my first guest that I have with me today. He is the wonderful, the amazing, the incredible Mr. Pete Johns. There he is. Hello, Pete. How you doing?
I'm going well, Mike. It's almost like we just finished talking to each other, but no, that wasn't the case. How are you? I'm super privileged and super happy to be here on the show with you.
Well, yeah, and it's been a while, actually. It's been a little while. Last week I had Ricky T. Brown on, and he thought that me and you had fallen out. He hadn't seen us on camera for ages. Okay. And so, yeah, I want to congratulate you. Look, I'm a little bit premature in congratulating you, but you are heading towards your 100,000 subscribers quite quickly, right? Now,
well, yes, not as quickly as some, Mike. While we're rubbing each other's backs here, that's not the word, patting each other's backs. You are doing amazingly well too. So it could be a bit of a race here.
Well, I think you're going to get there first. And you deserve it. But I was going to ask you, really, do you reckon you could slow things down a little bit so that we can peak at the same time together?
So you'd like us to reach our climb? We'd like us to reach our 100,000 milestone together. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Mike? At the same time?
Exactly. Yes, we could write a song about it, come together or something like that. And that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Do you imagine if we could time that? If we could just time that perfectly.
Speaking of timing, we're 4 minutes in and we've already gone into the gutter. So it's
it was you that brought up orgasms first, not me. Anyway, do you know what? It's been a long time that we've been doing shows together. We haven't done so much recently, but the first time I was checking today was just over 2 years ago, in February of 2019. Yeah. And just take a quick look here. I'll just pull it up here. There we are. The younger us. Yeah, there's me throwing away the script for the live show. Nothing much has changed there. Look at you. And you've got the treadmill in the background there as well, covered up. The famous treadmill. I missed the treadmill. Anyway, I was not supposed to do this.
RGBs?
No, I didn't have. Look at me, all playing in the background. Yeah, I know. And look at that foam there. Isn't it lovely? We recommend foam, don't we? Anyway,
be back, Mike. Love it.
Yes, I've removed him. Now, anyway, let's say hi to our next guest. Talking about people reaching climaxes, right? Let's bring in Mr. Ed Thorne. There he is. Hello, Ed.
Hey guys, how you doing? What a sweet romantic introduction to each other you just had there.
Right.
Let's bring him something like this.
Oh.
Ed, we were just talking about you over on Pete's channel because you've just gone over your 10,000 subscribers. Well done. Round of applause for
I
Ed
believe
there.
it's ticking over any second, yeah, or has gone over.
Yes.
Depending on which
Yes.
you look at.
Awesome.
But yeah, thank you very
Jade's
much.
Jade's just put a link to your channel in the chat there. Thank you, Jade. Appreciate
bless
that
you,
very
Jade.
much.
Thank you.
Ed's got an awesome channel, really good channel about all kinds of things to do with recording. Really detailed in the stuff he goes into. I love it very much. But one thing that Ed really has, Pete,
Here we go.
the YouTuber thumbnails, right? He's got some pretty crash hot thumbnails going on, man. Talk about in actual fact, let's just do it now. Yeah, let's. Or the puzzle.
I'm no good. I can't do it.
Let's have a look at Ed's
It's all about the blue steel, yeah.
And for people that haven't subscribed to Ed yet, it's worth subscribing just to see his thumbnails, to be honest with you.
Yeah, do it.
Right? Because let's have a look here. Here he is. I'm going back to the first one here. He's a drummer. There he goes. Here's one. Yep. Good on you, Ed. Yep. He goes on, moves on. He's 2 now. He's on 2.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
3. There he is. Look at that hair. Look at that. Yeah. And then, oh, bugger. Just like most drummers I know, he's missed a beat. He's on the 5. Look at that. Look at that. He likes those headphones, doesn't he? Yeah, he likes those.
Look at the beard.
Moving
I'm
on.
impressed with the beard, Gay. That was lockdown beard.
Hey, look at this. I was going to put some lipstick on this one. I withdrew at the last minute. I didn't quite have time, but that's worthy of lipstick, that one, isn't it? Eh?
I'd say so.
Next up. Look at this.
Yeah,
Look at
this
this.
video's absolutely tanked and it isn't doing very well. And I am blaming the thumbnail on this one. I think the duck.
I don't think so. I think the
a
thumbnail's
lot of
great.
people.
It looks like someone just pinched you on the bum just before you took that photo, doesn't it? And the funniest thing was, I couldn't figure out what you were holding. You obviously blurred out something you were holding there. I couldn't figure it out for ages. And for ages, I thought you had a pussy in your hands, like on its back with the tail.
Oh,
And I thought,
yeah.
finally, Ed's got some pussy in his hands. So moving on from there, next. Look at this. He's got all Wolverine on us. Look at that.
Oh, Mike,
That's
Mike,
crazy.
I am so getting you back in my next live stream. in 10 days' time on the 15th, everyone.
Yeah, looking forward. Yes, I'm looking forward to that very much, Ed. That should be great fun. Right, so guys, the thing is, we're going to listen to these songs here. People have generously allowed us to use their music on the show, and I have picked from the many things in the many sort of entrants I've got because they've stood out to me in some way. That doesn't mean it's always the highest class of music or something like that. Some people are just getting started, but something about their tracks has stuck out to me. Now, so we're going to go on to the first track. I want to just direct a little question to Ed here for a moment. Ed, you're in London at the moment, aren't you?
No, I'm in Sheffield. I'm at my parents'
Oh, really?
house.
Oh,
Hence
but
the
you
lack
live
of
in London.
studio
You live in
background.
London.
Yeah, I live in
That's
London,
not-
yeah.
Yeah, okay. What can you tell us about Camden?
It's Toilet Bar City.
What does that mean?
So there's a thing in England. I don't know if you have it in Australia because I guess you're all a little bit. Your standards are too high. Whereas we have what we call the toilet circuit, which is basically all the really crappy, dingy, horrible dive bars. And Camden has had most of them pre-lockdown. I'm aware a lot haven't reopened, sadly. But yeah, so it's just your dingy bars. It's your grumpy salmen on $70 for the night doing 5 bands with an overly loud PA system and a drum kit that can hardly be constituted as a drum kit.
Okay,
that
interesting.
kind of thing. So yeah, I know Camden. I've played pretty much every venue there is in Camden. Yeah.
Because I just had a message earlier on from a girl called Sophie in Camden, and she says that she left her underwear in your studio. When you're finished with it, could you return it, please, Ed? So just that was why I was asking you about that.
Not returning. It's in the terms and conditions.
A bad segue into our first song, which is called Camden Girls. It's
Hi,
by It's by someone, a group called Reed Savage, who are made up of someone called Reed and someone called Mark. Just a quick bit of background on this, guys, just so you know what you're listening to. They recorded this with an old copy of Cubase. They said a Toys R Us keyboard, one guitar, and one stage mic. Something like Ed's using there at the moment, like a dynamic mic, I'm assuming. They used to use tape. They've only recently started to use DAWs, and they took the approach of, this is an interesting approach, they recorded anything and everything. So they didn't sort of plan exactly what they were recording. They just kept throwing things at it so that they had a smorgasbord of things to choose from. They ended up with about 90 tracks. And then they sort of selected the best of that. I think it's really interesting. The quotes from them in their notes were, many people think that digital technology conspires against real musicianship. We don't think that's the case. Make of that what you will. Let's have a listen to this song. I'll just find it here. Let me just make sure I've got it. Let's have a listen to Camden Girls.
Swerve on the wall from the crescent. With your eyes on a leg tripping over your feet. Get yourself started, boy, climbing Mount Pleasant. It's a long dive down to Evershow Street. It's a long dive down. It's a long dive down. It's a long dive down. Don't steal a glance. You don't stand a chance. How can a girl look cheap and easy when it rich in a tub? You never been by to see boy enough. She got the soul on a roll, kicking the dog boy. Look at her smoking on the lip of the canal. You only ever see that day your hair like that in the light. Go and the prince and roll off the slings and the slow-mo stack heels to roll. Did you see that stroll? Oh yeah, I have seen that stroll. Don't steal a glance. Camden girl, you don't stand a chance. I don't Camden girl. Look cheap and easy when you're rich in a tub. Never been by to see boy enough. I'm a something with an earring. I'm traveling on the Meg. Gonna see me on your TV. Don't get how long it takes. Right? The Camden girl. All those Camden girls. Did you see that stroll? Never be glad to see boy enough. Never be glad to see boy enough. All those Camden girls. But that's not enough.
Cool.
There we go. The first song. I'm gonna go over to Mr. Pete Johns first. What do you reckon, Pete?
That was a jam. That was a bop. I dug it. Can you hear me? So by the way, I had to turn my volume down there. Cool. The vocals in that one just drove it home. I'm a huge Beck fan, and I don't know what people think about like comparing things to things, but Beck released an album in '99 called Midnight Vultures, which I'm in love with, and that took me all the way back to '99 to pre 9/11 to pre millennial, just like fun time, funky. just the way that the lead vocal with the backing vocal, the call and response, the vocal, and then I love that style. It almost borrows from the 70s where you had like a vocal line and then a guitar lick, and then a vocal line and then a guitar lick. And I don't know, I thought that was fun. You probably saw me bopping to it the whole way through.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot technical to say about it because I was too busy just bopping along and thinking how much it reminded me of Beck and how much I dug it.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of thought that, and as kind of a bit of a slight hint of a young Mick Jagger kind of a thing going on there as well.
Yep,
for
Jagger
sure, in the
swagger.
delivery. I think they mentioned in their email to me that they felt that, you know, if you didn't get the performance of the vocals good, then, you know, the song would possibly fall flat on its face. And I think they're right. It just sounded fun. Ed, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I had the Rolling Stones vibe again. Hang on, I've just done something with my audio here.
We've both messed up our audio coming back.
It's 'cause I've faffed. I changed headphones. Yeah, it had a great Rolling Stones vibe. I thought that was good fun. It was a really good summer track. I can imagine listening to that cruising through Camden, which I guess the video was doing, which was quite well. I mean, I was quite struck by Mike's dancing in the video. That was good fun.
Oh, was I dancing? I didn't know. It just grabbed me and I went with it.
Oh no, I meant in the video. In the video, the LED.
Oh, in the video. Oh, that was
that was based on Mike, was it?
Yeah. I sent them a little clip.
No,
it's good. I mean,
onto the music. Yeah, I mean, summer vibe, catchy. I like the interplay with the vocals as well, and the tonal balance, tonal difference with the vocals, but they work quite well together.
It's
not
interesting.
Quite sure what all the lyrics were. I heard some
No.
Camden references. Yeah, they weren't quite as clear as maybe I'd have liked, but then I was always taught to enunciate and dictate words. But I'm aware in music sometimes it's cool just to not really talk about. You know.
I agree with you there. I
there's
picked
gotta
up a
be,
couple of
man.
bits about Battersea, never be a Battersea boy or something like that in there. But yeah, I remember when I was listening to it today, I thought, oh, I wish I could hear a little bit more of what's really, because it seems as though there was probably some good lyrics in there, which would be quite interesting. But yeah, that was good. I mean, the question is, and I guess I know what your answer is going to be, but I'll ask anyway. You may be controversial. You know, they mentioned that they used an old door, Cubase, which I think they're now abandoning, they said, and going on to Cakewalk, thanks to me. But they, you know, using a sort of a rubbish old keyboard and a guitar. Would this be any better if they had better equipment, Pete?
Ooh.
Oh. Mate, you know my answer before I give it. I'm just going to use my usual thing, which is that a great song recorded on an iPhone is a great song. A crap song recorded in $1 million studio is a crap song. So, yeah, you can improve a good song and make it like epic by giving a little bit more on the quality, but it's only taken it from 80% to 90%. It's not taken it from 20 to 80. So I think people get fooled by gear and think that the gear makes all the difference. I don't think it does. And I think the soul, like if you spent too much time tracking this and going into a studio and doing it, you'd probably lose a lot of the soul and the feel and the vibe that you get from a track like that. That is clearly just a bunch of people hanging out, having fun recording music.
Yep. Cool. Anything to add to that, Mr. Ed?
What Pete said, but the last comment at the moment, the last comment at the end there, where capturing the vibe, doing things in a very relaxed way. If you're not in a professional studio that is costing you money, means you can be relaxed and really enjoy the process. And it sounds like those guys really enjoyed making that track, which that comes across, and that's quite a hard thing to capture. So yeah, doing things on the cheap in your own time, patiently, or however you want to work at whatever speed is great, versus the pressure of thinking, well, that hour's just cost me £100 or $100. Drummers taking an extra take too long, and crikey, how long is it going to take the guy to edit that bass part so I can do the guitars? All that stuff's horrible and stressful, and that's not what music's about. Sadly,
Exactly
with
right.
budgets, we are tied to that if you go down the professional route. But if you have, as I say on my channel, the best microphone or the best audio interface is the one you have. Get recording.
Yep, exactly. Good stuff. It's funny you should say about that, that feeling of being under pressure in a sort of a paid studio, because that's one of the other things that they mentioned in their notes to me, is that they felt sort of liberated by the fact, that they were able to just sort of have fun. Now, I think there's obviously dangers involved with having as much time as you want to do things. We all know about that too. But But it's definitely one of the advantages of the new, to borrow a phrase from Graham Cochran, the recording revolution, that we're in the midst of at home. But yeah, good stuff there. Now, we did mention the lyrics, and if you can excuse this segue, because some of the places you can release your music to do have the feature of synced lyrics. I know if you release to Instagram, you can, and Spotify as well to a degree. So that's one of the cool things about the sponsors at DistroKid. They have a feature where you can sync lyrics. And if I can find the clip that I'm about to play, yeah, here we go. So all you have to do is, there we are. If you go into DistroKid, go up to Goodies, Enhanced Music, go to Lyrics. Now, if you choose a song, which I did here, which already had some plain lyrics on there, then you click on Sync Lyrics, ignore that dialogue there, and it's really cool. All you have to do is like play your song, and then while someone's singing, which they will in a moment, you just hold space on your keyboard. There we go. There goes Susie, of course. And it's as easy as that. You just go through your song. You'll probably get it right first time. You go all the way through, and that's it. You save your lyrics at the end there. Job done. So if you want to take advantage quite easily of those places that you can release to which have that feature, then yeah, our sponsor DistroKid make it easy, as they do with lots and lots of stuff, don't they, Pete and Ed? Yeah, nodding your head.
They do, and it's like playing the world's easiest game of Rock Band or Guitar Hero, doing that sync lyrics thing. It's actually kind of fun because you get to like listen to your own song and then like play along to it. You're just like jamming by hitting your space bar. And you're like, yeah, baby.
Hey, drummers still find it difficult.
So, moving on in a moment, I just want to say a hi. I was a bit rude earlier because I didn't really properly say hi to the people who are in the chat for the live stream here. Thanks for joining us, folks, as well. I can see you're quite active there, and I can see that Jade is busy helping out, as is Mimo Japan again. Don't upset those people because they have the power to deal with you. So
whack you with their spanners.
Okay. But thanks so much. I'm trying to put some of your comments up there, and don't forget, if you want to submit a song for one of these shows, then you are most welcome, and I am listening to every single one of them. I had a whole day of listening to the other. Really interesting process, isn't it? I mean, I know both you guys have been involved with judging song contests and things like that, and do you feel like it just really sharpens you up in terms of what your music's going to sound like when someone's already had to listen to another 50 songs in the last hour? Like what you've got to do to kind of stand out? I've killed the conversation here with them. Yeah, no, we didn't know. Ed and I are both too polite. He's English and I'm from South Australia, so neither of us want to talk over each other. It is. The thing is, like, you almost feel like a bit of a wanker, to be honest, because someone's put their heart and soul and their passion into their music, and then you're sitting here and you've got the nerve and the arrogance to judge them as to whether what they've done is acceptable. And the thing is, and I do a similar show to this as we've talked about, Mike, and the cool thing is that everyone puts something different out there, and it's the best way to discover new music, and everyone's got something to offer and something to say, and we're all at different levels. So whether you're starting out, whether you're in the middle of your journey, or whether you're an absolute pro crushing it out like I know our man Ed is, then it's all good, and sharing your music is the best way to learn, get feedback, and then grow and develop and make it even better. Yep, really important. The one thing I do love is when I listen to a song which is of a genre that I don't normally listen to, and then it grabs me, and I go, oh, that, even though I don't normally like this or that kind of music, that one really got me. I think that's kind of incredible when people do that. Anyway, moving on. We have a song here from a couple of guys called Mick and Phil. They're twin brothers from Scotland. Actually, this song, and I didn't know this at the time I picked it, actually, to be honest with you, this song reached number 1 on the Amazon country charts, okay? So, like I said, I totally didn't know that when I heard it, and they sent it through to me, and I was like, oh, this is a good song. Anyway, they've been recording in studios for quite some years, but they've recently, because of COVID, I guess, started doing home recording. And now I think they're working on their first album of home recording. Now, the interesting thing here, and this is what we're going to talk about after we listen to the song, all parts were recorded completely separately in separate locations because of COVID. Okay, you'll hear a female vocal on there. Listen out for that. And yeah, as I say, so this song is called "Who You Really Are" from Mick and Phil. Let's have a listen.
Took the wrong turn on the way home. Now I'm lost and I ain't got nowhere to go. 'Cause you don't want me, you don't know how to let me go. For such a long, long time, and all you've ever known. So take those weights off your feet and let the whole world see who you really are, who you really are without me. And get those blue wash jeans and let the whole world see who you really are, who you really are, who you really are.
It all started when the leaves began to fade, and I knew right then we weren't on the same page. We've run out of movie nights and picnic love and restless fights, 'cause we want our own space to do what we wanna do.
Take those weights off your feet and let the whole world see who you really are, who you really are without me. Get those blue wash sheets and let the whole world see who you really are, who you really are, who you really are. Get those blue wash jeans and let the whole world see who you really are, who you really are without me. Just because your heart don't feel the same, don't mean it won't be someday. So you really are, who you really
Well. Let's go to Ed first of all. Ed, I
Wow.
saw you kind of really getting into that at times there. What was striking you about it?
A lot of things, which is why I was making some notes. I love country music. It's a bit of a secret passion of mine. And I mean, my initial thought when the vocals came in was like, "Oh, that's very Mike Enjo-esque, smooth acoustic vibes." And then as the
Then
song
it got better.
then as the song progressed, I was hearing, especially with the female vocals, I mean, both people are great singers with great classic country tones to the voice, which I like. Very soulful, quite earthy, but yeah, they blend really well together. But then the song reminded me of a Lady A song, formerly Lady Antebellum, for people who don't know that they changed their names. infamously over lockdown, which went horribly wrong for them. That's another story. But yeah, I've got into those guys recently, and the songwriting is beautiful. And this reminded me of that band. And also just in a typical country style, the lyrics told a really nice story. And for me, a lot of the country music is about storytelling. And for me, lyrics are about storytelling. And it was all very clear. The lyrics, I felt the vocals were slightly loud in the mix. I don't know if we're talking about mix criticisms or not. Compared to the drums, I thought maybe vocals down a dB or two, drums up a few dB, but then I'm a drummer, so maybe I'm slightly biased. But a lot of the country stuff now, if you listen to the production, the drums are very forward in the mix, just to give it that beef and that solid foundation. And the way the song picked up after the chorus too was just anthemic, and I love stuff like that. So totally sold on this song.
Cool. Nice. I like that. Pete, what's your thoughts? Are you a country fan normally?
I'm not even a little bit. So, but I do, similar to what you said before, when I'm doing shows where I'm listening to country music or different music. So you need to be really good country song for me to get into the vibe and the groove of it. And I totally did on this one. So I actually really dug it. I love hearing a male and female vocal together. And it reminded me of Australians will know what I'm saying here. Daryl Braithwaite and Margaret Ulrich with the horses. Like, come on, that's the way it's going to be, little darling. Be little darling. That's the vibe I got from that. And that's a good thing because that's a classic. And again, Ed said anthem. It's a classic Australian anthem. And even though that's a bit more poppy and rocky and this is a bit more country, I think it had a bit of that. I agree that it could probably use a little bit more beefiness in the bass. I didn't hear a lot of the drums or the bass coming through. So if there was any criticism, it was a little treble heavy because there was lots of really good guitar stuff in there. And the main guitars there were complemented. And I don't know if it was... I couldn't really hear if we're getting pedal steel or some banjo or just some like nice sort of lead guitar parts over the top there, but that all blended together nicely. But yeah, if there was anything I would say, it would be similar to Ed, that if we could just hear a little more of the bass, a little more of the drums, I think it would be a more balanced mix. And the vocals were, I was loving the vocals, so I didn't even think, and I'm so guilty of mixing my vocals way too loud because these days with pop music, vocals are super loud. So yeah, I really liked it. Love the picky guitars, love the sort of counter melodies in the lead again, just going over the top of the main melodies there. And again, I'm such a sucker for a female and a male vocal together, so I really dug it. I'm going to be going checking out who was it, Mick and Phil, and
and I think the female vocalist is called Laurie, I believe.
Mick and Phil and Lil. There you go. I love
it. I almost wondered if that song needed, especially when it goes anthemic, like a guitar picking line, whether it be an arpeggio or something. Again, something Lady A do is they have these incredible sounding. Just 3-note arpeggios going on the guitar in the background that just gives it a rhythmic push and also just a nice melodic underlying push as well. But yeah, it's just
right.
a thought maybe. But that can easily be
I mean, obviously I've listened to the song a few times now, and I agree with you guys on the mix. I thought the vocal, well, in actual fact, I had an interesting experience with it. I thought the male vocal was about right. And although I really loved the female vocal and was just enjoying listening to it so much, it was, I don't know if it was louder, just more present than the male vocal to me. And the interesting thing about it is around about 3/4 of the way through, the lady started singing a lower harmony to the main melody. And traditionally, you would put that lower harmony in the mix just a little bit quieter than the main vocal. You would put but it was actually a bit louder. But then I thought it was interesting. If that was a mistake, and I think it may have been, it actually worked. It was really interesting that she was singing this lower harmony, but it was actually a little louder in volume than the main vocal. Sometimes things like that can work really nicely. What I want to ask you guys is that they obviously mentioned that they were recording separately, and we're used to recording separately in the sense that often we're the only people on our tracks. And Ed uses a lot of other musicians a lot more than me and Pete do, but. What do you have any kind of techniques that you use? I'll start with you, Pete. Is there anything you do to try and make it sound like a band that was playing together?
I mean, yeah, the the glue, I guess, of bringing a band together is around the room sound. So I guess when you don't have musicians playing in a room together, the distracting element can be that everyone sounds like they're in a different space. So I think finding a reverb in particular or some sort of room space sound that is going to glue the mix together, as well as compression, like a bit of compression and a bit of reverb on each track. But what I tend to do is when I've got a bunch of stuff together, it's as simple as finding a reverb setting. And remember that reverb is reverberation of the space that you're in. So people forget that reverb is not just a plug-in, it's actually supposed to be a representative of the space you're in. So if you put a whole reverb on the guitars, the vocals, the drums to a lesser extent, and maybe not the bass, but that can actually glue everything together. So that's probably the one thing that I do every time. If I'm grabbing a track from someone else and bringing it into my mix, it's about what reverb am I using, and then grabbing their track and applying a similar reverb.
So would you send all those instruments to the same reverb?
Basically, yeah. So because I use GarageBand a lot, there's track reverb and there's master reverb. It's very simple because I don't have sensor receives and buses and fancy stuff like GarageBand. So, but yeah, the exact same concept of having the one master reverb and putting everything, and it can be to a different extent. You don't need to like have everything swimming in reverb, but pushing everything through the same. And it would be the same thing if you had a bus, just pushing everything through that same reverb bus a little bit. Just it tends, in my opinion and in my experience, it just tends to glue it together.
Cool. Ed?
Yeah. I mean, my approach to tracks are, as you said earlier, I use a lot of other musicians. That's because I'm just not talented enough as a musician to play guitars. I mean, I can play keys to an extent to write, but then I send stuff off to a professional keys player, and I get an amazing guitar friend of mine, David, to play guitars, and then bass players as well. And then I play drums. I often do pad synths and my own vocals, obviously. So in terms of trying to get it sound like a live performance, so far I've not really gone for that vibe. I've gone for the fully produced studio vibe where I am doing a reasonable amount of editing, depending on the track and the performances, to get everything as polished as possible. So I'm not really striving for that room sound, but if I did, as Pete was saying, I was thinking, send to the same reverbs. That's probably how I'd do it. And so we were on the same page with that already. But I don't do that because I just apply whatever reverb I think sounds good for that part. Thinking more along the lines of how does this instrument sit in the mix, frequency wise, compression wise, EQ reverbs as well to help things sit in the mix. So in a way, if you go in the opposite direction, you can use reverbs to help something sit in the mix better. So if you've got acoustic guitar, give it one reverb sound. Electric guitar, give it a different reverb sound. Vocals, give it a third reverb sound. And EQ them a bit as well to help them sit in the mix differently. So, very different approach.
Interesting. The thing that I'm sort of a little bit leaning more towards Pete here in terms of I like to use one reverb to create a space. Sort of different levels of send and sometimes EQing a little bit differently for different instruments because obviously they respond different instruments will respond differently to the reverb. But for me, it's more about performance. So one of the things I've done for a while now is I always now record guide tracks for every part. So that say when I start off with say the guitar, acoustic guitar, often for me, I'll record it knowing it's not my final take. It's just there. So that all of the final takes were never recorded without feeling like you were playing along with the rest of the band, if that makes sense. I feel like it helps your performance on every single final take. In an interesting way, it tends to make you a little bit less fussy. When you sit there sometimes and you suddenly, as soon as you hit the record button, you feel like you've got to get everything perfectly right. But the reality is when you're playing along in a band situation, you actually don't need to get everything clinically perfectly right. What you do want is to try and play with a good feel. So what that does, I find, is that by the time I'm actually playing my final acoustic guitar take, and there's already drums and bass and vocals and everything there, I feel like I'm playing in the band and I'm not hearing that guitar in isolation. It just makes you a bit freer. Of course, when you're recording your guide tracks, you're just thinking, it's a guide track anyway. It doesn't matter. So again, you don't need to be a perfectionist. So that's the way I deal with that kind of thing of trying to make it feel like we're all
That's
there at the
that's a
same
good
time.
tip. And how many people find, and I find this all the time, and people in the chat here can say if they find this well, but how often do your guide tracks just end up in your final mix anyway? Because
Yeah,
you're like, oh, I'll
that's
just
true.
slap this down, and you're playing it with such freedom and such expression that you go, hang on, that's actually better than when I sit there and pucker up the old butthole and try and play it properly. The first take was way better. So yeah, don't ever just approach that and go, it's just a guide track. I mean, do that, but you'll often find that your guide tracks are sometimes better than your actual performances, in my view.
Absolutely. And just if YouTube, you're using any algorithms here, it wasn't me who said butthole. Pete said butthole. Pete, punish him.
You just can't say the C word. That's where you get into trouble, Mike. Not that C word, but the new C word. That's the C word you don't want to hear on a YouTube live stream. Then you get into all sorts of lists.
Yes, you can. You just forget it once you say that word. And it's funny you should say that, because the next song, this is a segue which you created inadvertently, Pete. The next song that we've got coming up is by a guy called Keith. I'm going to get his name wrong. Let me just put his name up on the screen here. I can't pronounce stuff a lot of the time. Keith, you say it, Pete.
Keith DeBudio.
Oh, nice. Sounds very sophisticated. He's got this song called Better Days, but again, it was a collaboration. And it was written to lift the spirits during the C word epidemic, pandemic, which we can't say. And most of the musicians on it are essential workers. Keith is a steam fitter, and others were installing fire sprinklers in C word centres. And the co-writer for this song is a guy called Bill Hicks, who runs Bellevue Hospital in New York City as well. And this song is about sort of being in lockdown and dealing with that situation and what have you. And I don't have many notes on the actual production of this song, I'm afraid. But that's not what I'm going to focus on when I ask you guys questions. But we'll just have a listen to this song. It's going to get a little bit more rocky now, guys.
No.
Seen it coming. Turn the skies from bright to gray.
Well, there we go. I'm going to go to Ed first because a lot of people were really enjoying the drums there, Ed.
Yeah,
why do you
first
think
thing
that was?
Because they're so present. First thing that struck me was how well they've been recorded and edited and then produced. And anyone who's tried recording drums, as soon as you open up more than one microphone, you're dealing with phase issues, EQ issues, all sorts of problems. And when you've got 10, 12, 16 microphones on a kit, it gets tricky. There's a lot of editing work. There's a lot of automation that needs doing. And it was a very clean sound. And I was trying to figure out whether they used samples or not. I suspected it. But then the snare, the kick maybe, but then those sounds are achievable without samples. I know because I think I have them. But yeah, again, anyone who knows about drum editing, it's hard to get drums that clean, punchy and clear.
Yep.
And I felt that, there was great separation with the kick and the bass. I felt I could have done with a little more subby low end in the bass. And I tried it on 2 different headphones. I don't know if you saw me swapping, but I did check on a couple of different headphones. So yeah, great drum sound, sold on the track immediately. I got a vibe of an up-tempo version of the song Zombie with the quite driving 8th notes. Note bass.
Yeah.
And a great orchestration with the layers of guitars coming in, particularly throughout the first verse. That started quite sparse and then things came in, and I like that kind of thing. Now, when we got to what I thought was the second verse, I was thinking, have we had a chorus? Where's the chorus? Is this the chorus? No, it's the second verse. And then we got to the chorus again, which I assumed was There Will Be Better Days. And I was like, is this a chorus? So my only real criticism of this song, which I liked, was that the chorus is in the same register and it's not a dissimilar melody to the verse. So for me, I was like, where is it? I wanted something to go up a level just to really be obvious. Okay, now we're in the chorus and there's some sailing vocals to really differentiate those 2 sections. Good guitar solo at the end. I felt it climaxed a bit late with the was it 16th or 32nd notes runs. I wanted them a little bit earlier to bring it to a bit more of a crescendo earlier, because then it ends quite abruptly before that those instrumental stabs before going into the last chorus verse. Those are my thoughts. But yeah, sound-wise, good, solid, very solid production all around. Like I said, with that kind of foundation from the drums, any song's going to sound at least good if you've got that going.
Cool. Pete?
I'm glad you went to Ed first because, I couldn't tell if those were real drums or not. And it's only wankers like us that will sit around and think about that or worry about that. So for anyone that listening to that, they would just be like, that bass drum or kick drum, if you're American and say the wrong words, that bass drum and that snare drum really cut through the mix in a beautiful way. They weren't overpowering, but they were so present and so upfront. And it was just classic 4-piece rock band, just awesomeness. Like I would pay cash money to go and see 4 people stand up and a bass, drums, guitar, and vocals and just belt out that song. Interesting what Ed said about the song structure, because that was the same when we got to the pre-chorus, which I think was after verse 2. And then we went into the chorus. I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, this is the first time we've heard the chorus. And it was the Better Days part. And I thought it was cool. What I did like, though, is that it did build. So whilst it wasn't a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, verse, final chorus sort of structure, it did build throughout. So if you listen to the first verse, it was a sing vocal, then brought in the harmony vocal. It then got into the pre-chorus that built it up. And then in the chorus, you had those 2 vocals working together, harmonizing really nicely. Then went into the guitar solo and then sort of went into the end. So it kept you guessing. It was an interesting song structure. So whilst it wasn't a traditional sort of song structure, it's the sort of thing that I want to have another listen, because like Ed said, it's almost inquisitive. You're like, wait, was there a first chorus? Did I miss something?
Yeah.
I better listen again. And I think any song that makes me get to the end and go, I better listen again, they've done something intriguing that's made me go, hey, I'm going to go back and have another listen to that one.
Cool.
Yeah, I like the vocal harmonies that came in, but I was struggling to hear them. I was like, I want more of those, because as you said, Pete, it is it does push the song along. It was a second copy of that, second version of that section defining moment when those harmonies come in. But yeah, more of them.
Yeah, and even into the final chorus, you could have had 3 or 4. You could have really, like I think you said, that crescendo that you wanted at the end was almost like that final chorus needed to be epic, and you needed to have maybe a lead riff over the top with that lead guitar. The solo doesn't have to keep going, but maybe there's a counter melody with the lead guitar. Maybe you bring in a third or a fourth backing vocal to really hit a third and a fifth on those harmonies and just punch it home, because it was a big 4-piece rock song. Like, let's just bring it home strong at the end there. That again, it's not a criticism. It's just, if I was going to produce that, I'd say, hey, let's just leave people going, like, on the floor, shaking, going, hey, that I've just been destroyed by that song.
I like that. That's a good way of putting it. Good points, guys. I don't have an awful lot to add there. I liked, we often talk in these days on so many people on our channels about how the charts are dominated by the same chord structures. So I think that's where it reminded me of Zombie a little bit, Ed, in the sense it just went to a couple of slightly unexpected changes in the chords there, which is just nice. And I just, on a quick note, in a world seemingly on radio at least completely lacking in guitar solos, it's just so nice to hear a guitar solo. So I enjoyed the fact that it was there primarily.
And for those that watch the show on my channel, where I cut off, because I only play 1 or 2 minutes of every song, so it's a bit of a running gag and a meme that I cut off the guitar solo. So if you ever want to hear a good guitar solo, come over to Mike's show and watch Featured Artist Live, because you'll hear actual guitar solos.
Well, thanks to the guys. And just a quick segue. We're going to do a segue. I just want to talk about the fact that there were multiple people playing on this. And if you do release your music and there's multiple members of your group, you will want a way to split the money. Hopefully you're getting some money from your streams or however you're selling your music. And that's another great feature on our sponsor for today's show, DistroKid. They do a thing called splits. And with splits, here I am in my DistroKid. I'll go up to splits here. I just go down and choose one of the songs that I want to split the funds with someone else there. There you go.
I hope he's giving me a cut.
There you go. Add a collaborator. I'm putting Susie in for this one. There's her fake email address. Then you just put the percentage that they get paid, and it automatically, because we're musicians, it does the math for you. And then the other great feature here is if you need to recoup some money, so there's been some expenditure up front by people and they need to make that money back first before they get their percentage of the cut, you can see I've done that there. Does all that stuff with you. Now, once you've added that person, now if they're not a DistroKid member already, they'll get an email, and they do have to join to get their money. But they get a 50% discount on their joining fee. And I've heard some people whinge before, and I will call it a whinge. Oh, you have to pay. You're going to have to pay $10, okay? That's half of the DistroKid sign up so that you can collect your money. So if it's not worth $10 to you to collect what's due to you, then no comment. Anyway, but I think it's a great feature. I just like the fact that it's done automatically. It just means that you don't have to kind of get your hands dirty with arguing over people with, where's my money? If you're collecting all the funds yourself, then you have to disperse it. You don't want to be doing that with your band members. It's going to lead to arguments potentially. Now, next song. One of the things I love about doing this is that it's not like radio. It's not like we have to play something which is mainstream. And there's a whole world of music out there, especially if you're a musician and you want to be challenged, of music which is a little bit different and would not get the time of day on radio. Here's a really interesting one from a guy called Aaron. Now, the name of the song, Pete pronounced it last time. Ed, you can pronounce the name of this song. It's by Aaron Stanton. I'll say that bit. And Ed.
Okay, Aaron Stanton, easy. Muisku. Muistikuvat Turusta is what I'm going to go for.
I like it. It sounded like...
Got it.
Yep. That sounded like a moisty cravat. Whatever. Anyway, I can't remember what the actual translation is, but it relates to a place in Finland called Turku, and it's kind of about this guy's love for that city. Now, let me give you the background. So it's a track that I think Ed's going to like this. It's a track that was an experimental one. He wanted to write something in 7/4 that sounds natural. Okay, now that's I like that idea to begin with. So a different time signature, but it shouldn't sound too unnatural. The main vocal was improvised as he was walking around the city of Turku in Finland, singing into his phone. Make use of your phone to capture your ideas, is the first tip there. He wanted the song to be mainly driven by the instruments he had available to him, which were drums, trumpet, and vocal. So we've got a 7/4 song, drums, trumpet, and vocal. Aaron made a comment that he found that this kind of limitation is a useful tool, that it challenges you if you've got limitations. He just did use a few virtual instruments, not very many. And the vocals were a blend of, like, he did lots and lots of takes, he said, different octaves, different delivery types, and he just left it to the mix to choose which from this palette of takes he had, which he was going to use, and he blended them together. Now, I'm just going to say ahead of time, listen for the change in this about 2 minutes and 45 seconds in. Okay, so here we are. And this is experimental. It's an instrumental, more or less. It's got vocals in there, but it's really instrumental. And it's 4.5 minutes long. That's all I wanted you to think about. Does it hold your attention for all that time? Let's have a listen. That was a bit different, wasn't it? There's a lot to say, isn't there, really? Let's start off with any, meeny, miny, mo. We'll go with Pete first. Oh, go with you first, Pete. Go on.
I made zero notes because I couldn't stop watching and listening and trying to find the beat and trying to work out what was happening next. So yeah, I think it was very apt and accurate for you to say, is this 4.5 minutes that are going to keep you intrigued and enthralled? And yes, 100% yes, because I love unique meters. I love unique time signatures. I love mixed up. Weirdly, I was listening to Barracuda by Heart, which is like a really cool song and uses a bunch of mixed meters before this show just to get myself amped up. And it's funny that you just listen to that, because one of the coolest things about that was that it was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. But occasionally the one, what felt like the one, would come in on the 7, and then it would leave you feeling a bit uneasy, but in a really good way, and then it would resolve itself again. So it was like a constant feeling of anxiety, but in the best possible way. Does that make any sense at all? It felt like it was like when you're trying to catch your breath and you can't quite get there, and you're just wondering what's going to happen next. So I actually loved it. Like I said, I normally make notes when I'm doing things like this. All I said was, I love the claps, that had in the middle there, and then at the end, to end on that, was just a beautiful like callback to what he did there, and that the combination of the vocals and the horns and the drums worked absolutely perfectly, and I actually loved it. So I have nothing else to say, except that I'm enthralled.
It's apt that we should listen to Ed, because Ed, I haven't mentioned this before, but Ed is a very good drummer, like really, really good drummer. If you go to his channel and listen to any of his songs as well, he's just, and this is one of the things that Susie's always saying to me, my partner Susie's always, we've listened to some of Ed's music, she goes, oh, he's a really good drummer, isn't he? Shame he's so ugly, but a really good drummer, she says. No. So Ed, I know you might have a thing or two to say about the whole rhythm of this thing. What's your thoughts?
Do you know what? As soon as the track started, I completely forgot you'd said it was in 7/4, and I didn't notice. I didn't feel like it was an odd time, which for me is a great indication of good writing in odd times. Because when you can hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, when you're forced to be aware of it, I think that's where people can go wrong. But this was so well done. Yeah, like I said, I forgot that it was in an odd time very quickly, and I was just grooving along. Love the drum solos in the intro. This guy's got he's got a Yamaha kit, legend. Some very good linear sticking patterns going on, which I liked.
I don't know what you just said, Pete. Do you know what you just said?
No.
Okay.
Roller coasters or something. I don't know.
Carry on.
Good use of stickings and rudiments to get some of those fast.
Was there any paradiddles? That's the only drum term.
Yeah, I think there were some inversions of paradiddles in there. Some quite Steve Gadd-esque soloing there. The section changes were interesting, and they came at a point when I found myself about to wander, and then I was like, "Ooh, okay, some interesting layers of harmonies," and I dare say some harmonic stuff influenced by what's that really famous guy whose name I can't remember, the British guy. He's really famous. It'll come to me in a bit.
King George,
the skinny guy with the
Churchill.
No,
Ed Thorne.
Musician. I said skinny. And in terms of the mix, I felt it was quite cluttered between maybe 300 and about 1K. There was all the vocals were going on in there. The trumpet sat a little bit above that, but the kick drum was resonating. The whole kit was kind of resonating in that 400-500 hertz region, which I personally don't like. I always scoop that out on the drum bus just to give it some definition between the top end.
I saw that on one of your live shows, actually. I was watching one of your live mixing sessions and you were talking about that, and I was thinking, I don't do that. It's just we've all got our own thing.
It's not essential. Again, it's room dependent, kit dependent, and style dependent. But for me, I like the separation just so all those resonances, especially the toms. And in this track, the kick drum, the toms weren't offensive. They sounded great. But the kick, I felt, had a very low MIDI kind of echo to it, which sounds lovely. But for me, it was clashing with some of the vocals. I was also listening pretty hard for the vocal panning, and it all sounded quite mono. Now, whether that was he's panned stuff and duplicated it. I mean, I think there was some panning in terms of where he's placed vocals, but if he's done it identically on either side, it's going to sound mono. So I was wanting a bit more use of the stereo spectrum to separate some of those vocals. I'd say don't be afraid to go quite extreme with those. Obviously center vocal down the middle, lead vocal down the middle, and then harmonies, a little bit left, far left, far right. Get creative with. I love getting creative with panning and stuff like that. They were my only thoughts, really. Again, I was just quite interested in the development of it, and the repeated sections. There was a song structure. The repeated sections were nice. And again, with all the timing with the video editing, fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, Pete doesn't do any editing on his videos. He's an absolute YouTube genius.
That's why I was so enthralled. I was like, how long would this have taken?
But Mike and I are pretty. I don't do it now. I've got a video editor. I can't be bothered. But Mike, knows how difficult that kind of editing is.
That was hard work. Yep.
I guess that was a lockdown project. The guy's on his own. He's using his skills. Obviously, good singer, great drummer, good trumpet player as well. That was a good sound. And great creative writing. And this just resonated as a fantastic lockdown project. If he's done it all on his own.
It's for me, being the oldest of the three here. It's good to see young people engaging in non-mainstream music. I just love that. I just get the impression sometimes, I could be wrong, that everything's gone a bit too mainstream sometimes. And don't get me wrong, I love mainstream music. I love a good pop song, but I just like the idea that people are still prepared. I mean, he would have spent a lot of time putting that track together, right? And like I say, that's never going to get airplay on mainstream radio.
Jacob Collier. Sorry, Jacob Collier. He's the guy I'm thinking. Sorry.
Oh, well done.
Jacob Collier is the guy I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay, cool. It's just nice to see that there is someone out there who's willing to say, look, just for the sake of creativity, let's do this, even though I know that lots of people won't sort of get it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. The only thing I will say as a minor criticism, and make of this what you will, the main vocal theme, which if I remember, was like just could have done with one other theme, I think, to bounce off of. I don't want to use the word too repetitive, because I think it needs to be repetitive to kind of make it work. It's almost like a sort of a riff on a guitar, but I just felt that if there was any criticism, it could have done with just one more theme to play around with here and there during it. I agree with Ed, though, that the change up came at just the right time. It was just when you're starting to think, okay, I think I've heard this, and you go, oh no, there's something new to hear, which is, we're all writers, so that it's something that almost can't be taught. To have the instinct to know when you've either got to make a change or add another layer or change, do something different, is something which is really, really important in composition.
Yeah,
well, that was good.
I agree.
Can I ask you a question? Are you wearing my hoodie?
I am. Oh yes, by the way. Yeah.
What a legend! I've only just noticed.
Yeah, there you go. Ed Thorne's hoodie. Because it's finally I got a chance to wear it. It's chilly here. By the time you sent it to me, it was the middle of summer, and I was like, I'm not putting that thing on for a long time. Yeah, probably for you, that'd be almost all year.
Can I ask you a question, please? Can I ask you a question as well? Ed, where's my hoodie?
Well, I'm not sure we were acquainted when I sent those out. However,
yeah. By the way, Pete, where's my studio live today?
Right, I know.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Send me your address, and I'll get one sent out to you. I'm having a bit of an issue actually with that company, because now I've hit 10,000 subscribers. Thank you very much, everyone. I can implement merchandise on my channel apparently, but the company I was using just decided to delete all my listings because I hadn't used them for a while. So, can
I just say, to talk shop a little bit here, which this may be of no interest at all to people in our audience, but Ed's just reached 10,000 subscribers, and I know that for people like Ed and some other friends that we've got who have just making their way, and perhaps for me and Pete, we're a little bit longer in the tooth. We've been going for sort of 2.5 to 3 years. Yeah. No, but I mean, in terms of, Pete, as I say, is getting on, is 90 something thousand subscribers.
Which is
Hopefully, I'll
amazing.
be getting to know. Yeah, it's really. But for those of you in the chat, like reaching 10,000 is really, really hard. To get 10,000 people to hit the subscribe button, it's not like 10 times as much effort to get to 100,000. Not at all. It's very, very difficult to get to 10,000 subscribers. Not many people do. Lots of people think they're going to. They start off, oh, I'm going to do a YouTube channel. It's going to be cool. And I mean, the first 1,000's really, really hard. But yeah, reaching 10,000 is hard. But I predict that just having 10,000 is going to open a couple more doors open for Ed now. Not that he needs any more doors open. He seems to be opening doors all over the place. But just well done to Ed on reaching that. And I know he works really, really hard on it and thinking about it. And, you know, it's not just a sort of a quick sort of make it up as you go along kind of thing. He thinks really long and hard about everything he does musically and on his channel as well. So it's
Thanks, Mike.
just a big round of applause for Ed.
I
there.
think everyone should clap it up in the chat. I think everyone that's here live should give a round of applause.
Stop it, guys. Stop it.
Because it is. You're right. The first 100 is the hardest. The first 1,000 is the second hardest. The 10,000 is the third hardest. And weirdly, going from there, it gets easier. So, like everything in life, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And it's like music. It's directly related to what we've been listening to here tonight. That the more you try, the more feedback you get, the more you implement, the more you practice, and the more you create and record and release your music, the better it gets. It's funny, you know. Takes people 10 years to become an overnight success sometimes. So the hard work is definitely there, and congrats to Ed.
Thank you. I've just noticed Jade has shared a link in the chat in the comments. Song Whip. I have no idea what that is, but that is all of my music. Apparently, I don't know what Song Whip is. Thanks, Jade. Really appreciate it. Can I make a shameless plug while we're talking about the 10K, Mike?
Yeah.
So
go for it, mate.
on my website, which I'll put the link in the chat in a minute, I'm hosting a competition with Audient, and you can win an interface, microphones, headphones, loads of plugins, recording sessions, some snapback caps of mine, which is the logo Mike's wearing. And yeah, loads of information, $2,500 worth of prizes. Plus, there's a free Waves plugin for everyone who joins my live stream on Sunday the 15th. I'll put a link to all the details, but yeah, there's 3 prizes up for grabs. I think they're really good, and you can enter on my website that I'll put in the link below. Anyway, shameless plug done. Thanks,
Awesome. And it reminds me, because I know this as an insider, Pete, when he gets to his 100,000, he's got a giveaway of $10,000 worth of headphone cleaners for iPhones. Clean the socket of it.
Some 10,000 toothpicks will be coming your way. You'll actually get the shirt off my back. I'll take it off right now. Whoa, hang on. Nearly got saucy there. No, I'm renowned for giving away absolutely, as my subscribers and my lovely community know, I'm renowned for giving away absolutely nothing. I'm a cranky old man and I don't do giveaways. So, cheers.
You give away your heart and soul every single day, Pete Johns. What are you talking about?
I give away my blood, sweat, and tears, which you can buy in 10 milliliter bottles on my website.
Guys, we're going to be moving on to our final song in a moment. But I do want to thank both of you for being here. A couple of my favourite YouTubers to have on the show. It's just like hanging out with your mates for me. So it's good fun, and you've given some excellent critique as well on the songs as well. Like really thoughtful, you guys. Your opinions are just really helpful, I think. I also want to thank Jade and Mimo Japan for being in the chat and doing some moderating. I doubt they had to do any actual moderating, but thanks for being there and being available for that. Jade's going to be on this show with me 2 weeks from now, along with a really great old friend of mine, a guy I've known for about 25 years, Brian Henderson Ward, who's one of the best songwriters I know. He's going to be on the show with Jade. And also next week, we have Chris from Mix. I'm going to forget his channel name now, aren't I? Mix Down Online. I may have got it wrong. Sorry, Chris Salim. And he's with Marlon, who is from Ed. What's Marlon's channel's name? I'm having a moment here.
White Noise Studio.
White Noise Studio. Yep. Oh, God,
it's a senior moment, folks. It's okay.
I know.
We'll be back with us in just a moment.
I know.
That's why I hang out with Mike, because he's the only dude on YouTube older than me, so I can actually make jokes like that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Warren Hewitt. I don't think. Oh, you don't hang out with him. But
Rick Beato, yeah.
Rick Beato, yeah. Anyway, Jade's looking forward to being on the show. I'm really looking forward to having Jade on the show. And Paul is trying to figure out which country I'm from. I don't even know which country I'm from, Paul. I don't even know what I'm going to say next. Yeah, so finally, I just want to say, before we listen to our last song, there's a little bit of a point to me playing this song. He is a bit of a friend of the channel, but I didn't choose it. I didn't choose this song because of that. I didn't even really notice that it was. His name is Clive Harding. He's a bit of a supporter of the channel, but I didn't really notice it was him. I listened to the songs first and then find out who it is after. So I just sort of clicked the link and have a listen. And a part of the reason I'm playing it is because it's a bit of an equal opportunities situation. I want to make sure that anybody who's considering submitting a song, that they're not concerned that I'm going to, choose songs which are just trendy or, the right kind of genre or in the right age group, because Clive is 72
You're saying he's a
old.
non-trendy old person, and you're really presenting this in a great light, Mike, just rightly.
I'm sure Clive would agree. No, I've actually watched another video by him some time ago, and I sort of didn't connect that it was him. He made a video on YouTube about his many decades of recording music with his mates from back in the 60s. So Clive is 72. He's from the UK. He says he's been trying to record himself since he was 8 or 9 years old. He's gone through all of it: 4-track, reel-to-reels, cassette.
Wow.
Remember the old Porter Studios? I used to use those in the late 80s.
Tascam.
And then finally, he started using Cakewalk in 2019. Now, the song that he submitted to me was his second song ever to record in Cakewalk. So I'm not asking you to be forgiving when you listen to it. I just think I want to give you context about where this person's come from. He did use a VST bass, and he said he wished he'd since got a real bass guitar, and he wished he'd used that. And I can vouch for that. I sort of didn't use real bass for quite a while. I don't know if you were in the same situation, but and I think there's some great VST basses out there. Ample Sound makes some great ones, but something about the real thing, and you can even get quite a cheap bass, to be honest with you, and it will sound a little bit better than using a VST. And also the great thing. Yeah, and the great thing is bass is really an easy instrument to play. You virtually don't even have to be a musician to play bass.
Every guitarist is automatically a bass player. So
I know if you've got one finger on one hand and one finger on the other, you can play bass. It's not. I know.
That's what you need.
I jest. Playing it well is actually really, really difficult, and guitarists can be the worst ones sometimes. 6-string guitarists. As it took me a while to learn. But anyway, that's one of the things. Interestingly, he said that you guys may know the situation, since he heard that his song would be featured, he tried to re-record the vocals, and he tried to remaster the song, and he said it just wouldn't happen. Even though he felt he'd learned a lot since he recorded this song, revisiting it, he just couldn't get the kind of, I guess, magic that he was hoping for. So he had a hissy fit from the band and that. And the reason that I've chosen this song, and I'm going to preempt this, is about delivery, okay? I'm just going to say vocal delivery. This is actually a cover. I didn't know this was a cover when I heard it. So after I heard this, I went and listened to the original, which had like 6 million views on YouTube. And it was one of those weird situations where I was like, oh, I don't like the original as much as this version that's been sent to me. But I think it's to do with the character of the voice. Let's have a listen. Clive Harding, Don't Let the Old Man In. I relate to the lyrics of this song.
Don't let the old man in. I wanna live me some more. Can't leave it up to him. He's knocking on my door. I knew all of my life someday it would end. Get up and go outside. Don't let the old man in. Many moons I have lived. My body's weathered and worn. Ask yourself how old would you be if you didn't know the day you were born. Try to love on your mind and stay close to your friends. Toast each sundown with wine. Don't let the old man in. Many moons I have lived. My body's weathered and worn. Ask yourself how old would you be if you didn't know the day you were born. When he rides up on his horse and you feel that cold bit of wind, look out your window and smile. Don't let the old man in. Look out your window and smile. Don't let the old man
Well, there you go. Clive Harding, Don't Let the Old Man In. I'll go to the oldest man apart from me first. Pete.
What? Am I older than Ed? Jesus. Okay. Sorry, Ed. So yeah, when you talk about the delivery of that, that's the thing. Like I'm a sucker for being hit in the feels and the passion of someone singing something and playing something that they clearly are delivering with, that they care about. And it's not that I don't like pop songs, and it's not that I don't like something that's funky and that's just light and airy and stuff, but that just had the feeling that the Cliff, was it Cliff? The singer?
Clive. Yep.
Clive, sorry. I've just changed your name, Clive. That Clive was just like emoting and feeling when he was playing it. So that's the first thing I'll say, is that I loved the passion and I loved the feeling in that one. And that just made me, it sucked me in and just made me want to like hear more of what Clive was having to say there. Even knowing it's a cover now, I'm like, I want to still hear this song. Like the pedal steel in there, whether it was pedal steel or slide or whatever it was that was going over the top of that, the guitar layering was really nice. The vocal harmonies in that sort of last minute were beautiful. Like vocal harmonies with himself, that sat really nicely. What I would love to... So when the vocals came in at the start with the single guitar, they sounded great. As soon as the instrumentation built up, I think it's probably reinforcing the importance of automation, is that when you're recording a vocal and then either compression or automation or a little bit of both, once those instruments came up, when you're doing a like very stripped down song like that, you really need to automate those vocals up so that they can stay there. Because I found that in the second half of the song, when we have more instrumentation, the vocals got a little bit buried, and I would have loved to hear them a little bit more present and up in the mix. But that, I mean, again, I only noted that because I'm like, Mark's going to ask me for some notes here and I'm going to have something to say. But I really enjoyed it. I loved listening to it. I've never heard that song before. Is it from that movie? Is that a movie? I'm assuming that's like a Clint Eastwood movie or something. I'm so out of the pop
I've
culture
no idea.
world.
No idea.
I don't know. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I think that it's great. It's a testament to the fact that if you had anything to do with Cliff being able to... Cliff. I've changed the name again. Clive being able to record that song, Mike, that's good. And if that's his second attempt, did you say, in Cakewalk, imagine what his 12th attempt and his 27th attempt is going to be like. Exactly. Only good from here. That's what I say.
Wow, second
Cool.
attempt.
Ed.
I missed that bit. Great. I mean, Pete and I are on the same wavelength. He's literally said everything I made notes about. The thing that struck me was the organic sound of the acoustic. It's been captured well. Really great use of chord changes between the sections, which I really liked. Again, I'm a drummer, so I don't think in these terms, but I really appreciate it when people do that well. The words that I came up with were emotive and expressive, and there's just an authenticity to the sound. He's
Right.
really performing this like he means it, and that, really that is more important than any plug-in or production technique that we're going to waffle on about on our channels. Country-esque harmonies as well, like you said, Pete, when they came in. Lovely, kept the song moving. And again, I'd made notes on the automation, particularly the lower notes. And then I was thinking compression. I'm not hearing much compression on anything in the song, which I was thinking, okay, is this aiding the expression in terms of the the dynamic flow between the instruments, especially the guitar, which has been played very fluidly and expressively, and the vocals as well, but maybe just a touch with a slow attack, slow release, low ratio, 2 or 3 to 1, just a little bit on the guitars, just to smoothen those a little bit, and then on the vocals as well to help bring up those lower notes and gel those together, or maybe some gentle bit of master bus compression there. I don't know what he's done, but I was debating how much to go with that, because a criticism of my own is that I've overcompressed stuff in the past, and it's not always allowed songs to breathe. This, I think, breathes really nicely, and there's no production, I don't think, that takes away from the beautiful song, but maybe just a little bit here and there on the vocals and the acoustic, or the master bus, or both, just a little bit, just to curtail some little edges and smoothen that out, and then it'd be an even more pleasant listening experience. But yeah, Clive, great song.
It's a funny one with compression. I sometimes think that if you're just starting out and you're not confident, or you don't really understand what you're doing with compression, then on balance, I'd say you're better off not using it. If you're not using it purposefully and you don't really understand what you're doing with it. I mean, probably, unless it's being used as an effect, which I know in sort of dance music, or sometimes people want to hear the pumping compression, which is fine. I get that. Yeah. But, other than that, good compression should be almost transparent, really. Like, you're not aware of it. Unless you're a clever listener like Ed is, or something like that, where you can sort of pick up on it, or you kind of know it's there. But I sort of suspect that Clive, in this case, has not been overly confident in using it. He's indicated as well to me in an email that he got hold of Ozone and tried to do some mastering with that, and wasn't getting very far, and abandoned that as well. So look, it's not an easy thing at all. And for people who are in the chat and watching, if you're struggling with compression at all, join the club. I would say I wouldn't mind betting that all three of us here at some point have really struggled with using compression and getting it just right. It's one of the harder things. But I'm going to be a bit I'm going to be the mean guy here, and I didn't expect to be, because I've heard this song several times, and I agree with you both. My favourite part of the song is the vocal, and I suspect that's the part that Clive is least confident on, and so I'm hoping that he'll be encouraged by the fact that just because you're not singing things perfectly right or technically right doesn't mean it's not a fantastic vocal. And I had the same word in my head as Ed there, authenticity. It just felt like he'd written the song, kind of thing. He just owned all the lyric and everything there. It was just perfect, and it was a little bit of a shame that in the mix it got a little bit buried here and there. I just wanted to hear it so much. But what I'm going to be more harsh on is with the guitars. I disagree with Ed on the guitars. I think the guitars could sound better. I was a little concerned, and I only noticed it on this play. I didn't notice it right off, but I felt that they, here and there, they had that sort of plasticky feel that you hear when you DI an acoustic guitar in and you use the pickup. I don't know if Clive has done that. Sometimes you can get that effect when you don't want it, if you mic too closely as well with an acoustic guitar. It's an easy trap to fall into, is to get the mics, like really, really close. And it doesn't really sound the way an acoustic guitar sounds anymore when you do that.
Yeah,
so
now you mention it. Yeah. I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, there was something that it can make them sound a little bit kind of plastic. Plastic is the wrong word. A little bit sort of brittle sounding and unnatural. And I didn't notice it on the first few plays. I noticed it then, so it's obviously not too bad. Clive, if you're watching, if you did happen to DI your acoustic guitar, then that's my number one tip for beginners starting out. Don't DI acoustic guitars. Mic them up. He may or may not have done that, so apologise, Clive, if I'm getting that wrong. But yeah, a fitting end to a show which I've really enjoyed. All the music actually on tonight's show. There's been something different in there, so I do encourage anyone who's watching in the chat now and who's watching on the replay. I'm prepared to let any kind of music or anything on this show. I try not to be. I know my biases in terms of genre. I am playing things which are not in genres I typically like. I'm happy to do that. It's all about, is there just something about the song which grabs you and stands out in some way, whether that's production, performance, lyric. Sometimes maybe it's helped a little bit by the video that you're supplying with it. Maybe not. But yeah, all of those things. So, give it a go. And you might get some really useful feedback from the various guests that I'm having on the show. That's we're going to wind it up. Again, I'll say thanks to the sponsor DistroKid, but more than that, I want to say thank you to you two guys here, Pete and Ed Thorne. I hope you guys will come back again. I just really have enjoyed your input tonight. And it's getting harder and harder to come up with ways to mock you guys, but there's still a few things.
I love that you didn't even mention that we both have a bed behind us. Like you didn't even go there, Mike.
Well.
We set it up ready for you to just you could spike that volleyball. The Olympics is on, right? Is that a volleyball term? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the volleyball. Oh, the Australian women's volleyball beat the Lithuanians or Latvians or whatever they were. Began with L today to go into the finals.
Did we win the basketball or the hockey, Mike? I think we lost the basketball.
We lost the hockey and we lost the basketball.
Jeez,
Don't mention that,
Louise.
Pete.
Hey, okay.
Hey, I know. Look, for a country with such a small population, we're technically beating the Poms by a long, long way. So that's the main thing, and it's all we care about until
True
cricket.
professionals never make excuses, guys.
Blaming your tools or blaming the tool.
They simply give reasons.
So thanks so much, guys. And lastly, the biggest thanks of all goes to the people in the live stream, in the live chat here. Thank you so much for being here. Loads of you have hung in there for the full 1 hour and 35 minutes, which is a marathon. Well done to you guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. This is going to be weekly for the foreseeable future on Thursdays at roughly this time, give or take an hour or two. So watch out for my social media posts where I will be telling you who's on the show and what times it will be happening. So, guys, I'll leave the last final words to you. Pete, what do you say?
What do I say? I was skeptical of this show because I thought it was just like my show, but it's not. It's something different. So I'm proud of you, Mike. I love music. I love the communities around music. And I think Ed said it really well before, which is that if you're not creating, what are you doing? Just start creating now with whatever you have. You don't need all the gear. You don't need all the talent. You don't need all the expertise. You need to start. And once you start, you will start creating. You'll start learning. And this is a perfect way to get feedback. And even if your music's not featured on Mike's show here, or on any other show, listening to other people's music and hearing what they're doing and how it can enhance your music can only help you create and record and release better music. So that's what I say.
Did you rehearse that? Or do you just talk like that?
I just talk like that all the time.
This is how he does his videos in one take with no editing.
No. It's incredible how he does that, isn't it? It's just, you marvel.
Ask my
Try
wife.
that.
Verbal
Folks at home,
diarrhea.
Folks at home, try that. Try and say like a whole paragraph like that first time with a camera on you, because I can't do it. I can tell you that. 25 takes just to say, hi, folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. That takes me 25 takes. So.
Practice makes progress, mate. Practice makes progress.
Ed, what do you say?
I'd emphasize what Pete said, Don't worry about gear. The microphone you've got, the interface you've got is the best one. Just start recording. It is all about starting, learning on the job. I'm a huge advocate of that. Anyone who knows me, my close friends, it's a bit of a running joke, but it's the best way to learn effectively, for me at least. And yeah, it's easy to be afraid to submit songs to competitions and to get feedback. It's terrifying, especially if you're like me, where singing is a long way down my skill set list. It's exposing, but do it, because if you like your music, there's a very good chance someone else will like it, and everyone's a winner then.
I like that. That's a nice little catchphrase you come up with. Say that again. If you
forgot
like
it
your
already.
music.
No, there's an interesting story behind that. I met a guy who brews beer in Sheffield, and he was in a pub and he was drinking his own beer. And there were 150 different beers in this pub. And I asked him, why are you drinking your own beer? And he said, well, if you think about it, I'm lucky enough that my job is I get to brew a beer that I like. And I thought that could be applied to songwriting. If you write something you like, the chances are other people will like it. And this is an award-winning beer that's hugely popular in the north, especially in Sheffield. I may have had a number of pints of it last night. But the point is, if it's like Marmite, if you like it, yes, some people won't like it, but the chances are a lot of other people will like it. So just get it out.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Oh, God, the show's going to go on now, but just sometimes write that song if you love it, if you really enjoy it. Don't fall into the trap of them playing it to your mates and listen to all their criticism. No, sometimes run with what you've got.
Your mates don't want you to succeed and be happy. Play it to other people. Play it to Tinder dates and stuff like that. Seduce them.
So it's going downhill now, Mike. Grab those reins, mate. Grab those reins.
It is. Thanks so much, guys, and we will see you again. And I know I keep saying it's going to end in a moment, but I just want to say I've updated the description already, all the links for all of the songs we played today, and more importantly than that, the links to Pete's and Ed's channel are in there as well. Do make sure, and if you want to make sure your song gets played, subscribe to Pete's channel, because he plays everything on his version of this similar show. He's not fussy.
We do 50 songs, not 5. So come on over.
He does, but he will cut you off during the guitar solo. So if you're a guitar
no
solo,
guitar solos allowed.
He'll cut you off. But no, do head over and do. I just want to see Ed get to 11,000 really, really quickly. So I want everyone who's in the chat and who's watching the show afterwards, I want every single one of you, and I know who you are if you don't do this, go over there and hit the subscribe button, even if you don't watch any of his videos.
Mike's going to ban you if you don't. He's going to actually ban you and lose subscribers just to get him more.
Thanks, Mike. And also, my website is a competition to win loads of prizes to celebrate 10,000 subscribers. Mike, thanks for having us. It's been amazing. Pete, you've been my favourite.
Thank you so much, guys. See you next week, everyone. Have a lovely week. I will see you in the next video. Yes, I say.